In the auto industry, Detroit's leading the world in electric vehicles. Mary, I can remember talking to you way back in January about the need for America to lead in electric vehicles. And I can remember your dramatic announcement that by 2035, GM would be 100% electric. You changed the whole story, Mary, wherever you are. There you are. You did, Mary. You electrified the entire automobile industry. I'm serious. You led, and it matters.
GM announcing a special deal to use Tesla's charging network and technology. So if you have a GM-built EV, you're going to be able to charge up at a Tesla Supercharger using an adapter next year. But an even bigger than that deal is that General Motors, along with an earlier announcement by Ford, will begin installing the Tesla-style charging port in their cars in 2025 and beyond.
Right. So with respect to this being checkmate, we think it's the opposite of checkmate.
Uh-oh.
And let me explain that.
King me.
One of the only modes that Tesla had left was superchargers, right?
Today, some very big news, more proof that you can definitely trust what President Joe Biden says. He's not corrupt, he would never say things that are untrue. And by the way, who's the big guy? What big guy? P.S. There was no laptop. General Motors, leading the charge, once again electrifying the whole industry. Remember, they led, and it matters. By following Ford, who've given up on building out their own charging infrastructure and said, fuck it, Tesla's the leader here, so let's just gain access to their charging network. A week or so after the Ford announcement, GM leading by following. You did it, Mary. This announcement should surprise absolutely no one. In the end, it was inevitable. It's embarrassing for GM to have to do this, but what's even more embarrassing is going bankrupt, although guess what? That's still going to happen anyway, but they bought themselves a little more time. And to be clear, GM will not be the last automotive manufacturer to announce that they're going to be installing Tesla chargers in their vehicles in the future and gaining access to at least part of Tesla's supercharging network. Stay tuned for more announcements. This is possibly the least dumb thing GM have done when it comes to their business in the last half a decade. The bar's pretty low, but it's something. Tesla stock having a decent run today, up nearly 5% during hours and up another 5% after hours. Obviously, this is because Elon Musk has suddenly stopped sharing his opinions on Twitter. Oh wait, no, because that's literally exactly the opposite of what has happened. Yes, so much for Elon's opinions are destroying Tesla stock. It's almost as if Tesla stock in fact moves when people buy and sell Tesla stock, not when Elon Musk shares opinions. Just for fun, check out the year to date on Tesla stock, now up almost 120%. And it's only June. Of course, the Tesla short sellers will tell you that the stock's going to collapse and it's severely overvalued, and I will tell you I'm still buying it with every spare cent and still think it's the best risk-adjusted opportunity that I'm personally aware of in the stock market. Some people might suggest maybe Tesla stock's up because a lot of people have been buying the stock on the news of the GM-Tesla partnership, almost as if it suggests that Tesla has an incredible lead and their supercharger is a valuable asset. Of course, that would be pretty embarrassing because we already know that. Shouldn't need to take an announcement like this for people to realize. Interestingly, this announcement comes just days after Mary Barra continued to earn that nickname by lying to and misleading her investors about GM gross automotive margins, something that I covered and roasted in an exclusive Patreon video. If you missed it, check the link in the pinned comment to join Patreon. The good news is GM seems to be on the 5th stage of grief. Acceptance. It's a start, but that's all it is.
And now we've got breaking news on GM. Phil LeBeau has it. Phil.
John, take a look at shares of General Motors 2 weeks after its competitor Ford said it would strike a deal with Tesla to use the NACS Tesla charging standard. GM is now saying that it will do the same thing.
You changed the whole story, Mary. You electrified the entire automobile industry. I'm serious. You led, and it matters.
So starting in 2025, it will be incorporating the Tesla NACS charging standard into its EVs so that GM EVs will then be able to charge at Tesla Supercharger sites. Also, before then, starting in 2024, General Motors EVs will have access to about 12,000 Tesla Superchargers. GM will go through the process of manufacturing adapters so that its current EVs, which have the CCS charging standards, will be able to use the Tesla NACS charging standard. Yet another automaker saying, you know what? Let's just go with Tesla. It's a better way to go than to have a separate charging standard. And again, this is for those public charging standards stations. You've got the Tesla Superchargers, and then you got everybody else. And John, I should point out, if you talk with those who have studied the public chargers in this country, the ones that are not Tesla, they get terrible reviews. And about 20% of the time, they do not work. Either the credit card doesn't work, or it's slow, or it just plain doesn't work. So GM is saying, you know what? Let's give the people who buy our EVs more access, and they'll have access to about half of the Tesla superchargers. John, back to you.
Phil, what are the revenue and profit implications for Tesla here? Is this like licensing revenue that they're going to end up getting?
Spoiler alert, it's barely going to move the needle. If you guys are curious as to how little the needle will move, check out my Tesla valuation model, available exclusively on Patreon to supporters at the investor level and above, where you'll find my assumptions in the bear case, the base case, the bull case, and the hyperbull case for how much revenue and profit third-party access to Tesla's supercharging network will have throughout this decade. In the scheme of things, it's approximately all.
Good question. We don't know what the parameters are. One of the questions we'll have from Mary Barra, similar to what we had with Jim Farley in terms of, look, you can't charge for power in this country. In other words, you can't say to somebody, well, you're going to pay this for power, but everybody else is going to pay a different rate. You can't do that, but you can charge people to have access to getting to the same power. So that's one of the questions that we're going to have from Mary Barra about whether or not GM owners, will they have to pay for this access to Tesla sites?
Yeah, I would think so. I don't know.
Sure.
A heck of a thing to get that
look,
for free.
Tesla didn't do this out of the goodness of its heart to spend the billions to build the supercharger network. And remember, John, they were doing this long before everybody else was even thinking about public charging stations.
Yeah, Elon Musk likes to get paid.
Mary, it's Melissa Lee at the NASDAQ market site. How do you share the cost or revenue of the charging network with Elon Musk, with Tesla? And does this mean that you might be partnering in the future? Because Elon Musk has tweeted just recently on the heels of the Ford announcement that he would be willing in the future to license other Tesla technology like full self-driving and autopilot.
Well, I think From a full self-driving perspective, General Motors has Cruise, and we're already operating level 4 autonomy in 3 cities, with 2 more being added. But of course, we're going to always look for ways to be more capital efficient.
Were you listening? For a politician in CEO's clothing, aka Mary Barra, who continues to lie and mislead her investors as recently as a few days ago, there might be something in that comment. Of course, Mary pointing out at this point in time, well, we've got Cruise, but obviously if she has half a brain, it's debatable. She knows that that's never going to scale, doesn't want to piss off her existing investors, so she doesn't want to say, well, yeah, we'll probably license FSD. But did you hear what she said? Let's listen again, because it's actually really important. In fact, you might even say it matters.
Autonomy in 3 cities, with 2 more being added. But, of course, we're going to always look for ways to be more capital efficient.
So when asked about, Elon's open to licensing FSD in the future, Mary's like, well, we kind of got our thing doing our thing, but we're always open to ways to be more capital efficient in the future, aka, yes, actually, we may in fact consider this. Now, again, this should surprise absolutely no one. Now the GM's basically admitted that they didn't in fact lead and don't in fact matter and are desperate as fuck. It's not much of a stretch now for them to begin licensing Tesla's FSD tech. Won't happen yet. They'll probably wait until Tesla solved autonomy. The decoupling of Cruise and GM, spin out businesses so it doesn't look so bad. I think Mary is setting up the groundwork for this announcement in the future. My best guess, once Tesla's operating robotaxis legally somewhere, that's probably the time that many other automotive manufacturers start licensing Tesla's FSD tech. Elon said he's open to it, and even before he's mentioned this, I've been saying for years, it's obvious it's going to happen. They've got an unassailable data lead. At some point, everyone else just gives up and licenses FSD or goes bankrupt. So stay tuned for that. Oh, and hate to plug my Tesla valuation model once again, but you guys want to see the implications of Tesla licensing FSD to other automotive manufacturers throughout the decade? Check out my valuation model. It's been in there from day one. It's almost as if I thought that would happen, and still think that's going to happen. And when it does happen, I will not be surprised.
And this arrangement alone, this collaboration that we're doing, nearly doubles the amount of chargers that our GM customers will have access to. And frankly, we think we can save up to $400 million in the original $750 million that we allocated to this, because we've been able to do it faster and more effectively. And we're really looking for ways that we can be more capital efficient as we go forward. So if there's other opportunities to partner, we're going to be very open to them.
Damn, bro. She just doubled down. I mean, what clearer sign and indication do you need that GM will in the future license Tesla's FSD tech and maybe other technology, maybe even the OS for the vehicle in the future? Remember, this is the same politician who still lies to her investors as recently as a few weeks ago, claiming that they'll overtake Tesla in EV volume, they'll beat Tesla's margins, all this other bullshit. Never believes what she's saying. They're now at the point of acceptance. Not only that, but she's now starting to be honest. This is a huge change from nothing but bullshit to paving the way for this partnership. But again, please don't join Patreon at the investor level and above and look at my assumptions for the impact of Tesla licensing FSD to other companies throughout the rest of this decade, because it definitely doesn't move the needle. And that's definitely why my Tesla stock, the fair valuation, formerly known as price targets, are so close to the Wall Street clowns. Tesla licensing FSD, definitely doesn't make a difference, and it's definitely not why I'm still buying Tesla stock with every spare cent.
In addition to this collaboration with Tesla, we also have a very important collaboration with Honda as well. So, we're demonstrating that. We're going to continue to do that because I think being capital efficient in this environment that will allow us to get the best EVs out to the market is crucial in this transformation.
Just to translate the political speak there, being capital efficient means desperately trying not to go bankrupt. It just goes to show how desperate GM are now, that out of absolutely nowhere, from refusing to mention Tesla, colluding with the President of the United States, or at least the people who control him, to steal Tesla's valor for leading the way and mattering, bullshit, to now actually being open to partnering and just explaining why, to be capital efficient. This is a major change of tune. I hope you guys understand. Desperate times, desperate measures.
Mary, it's Phil. I have one other question for you. We are just a few months away from the UAW contract expiring, and you've heard the comments from Shawn Fain, the president of the UAW, basically saying, hey, look, you and the rest of the big three have had big profits over the last several years, and that it's time for you guys to, quote unquote, pay up when it comes to the rank and file members who are building GM vehicles. Are you confident you can avoid a strike in the fall, given the rhetoric that's already out there from the UAW?
Well, Phil, I think it's important that we actually get to the table and we start to problem solve. Of course, we have differences, but as you talk about record profits, one of the things I'm very proud of is we've shared that with our employees from a profit sharing perspective. So they've done quite well in participating in the success that they're important and vitally important to. When I think about the men and women of General Motors and the fact that just a few weeks after we shut down, when no one knew what was happening in the world with COVID, they came back, they followed the safety protocols, and really, just did a phenomenal job. So I couldn't be more proud of the men and women of General Motors that work in whether it's our factories, our warehouses, across the company. And, we want to make sure that we problem solve. Again, we want to find a solution that's good for our employees, good for the company, because we need to continue to reinvest. And, right now we've made some important announcements about reinvesting in these plants, because I think job security is very important. To do that, the company has to be successful so we can continue to develop new products that customers want to buy. So I look forward to being able to have conversations and work through the issues that we have to get to a successful agreement.
Full politician mode once again. For those who don't know, the UAW is an extremely corrupt organisation that claims to be looking out for the best interests of its members, who are current employees at GM and Ford, but in truth is an extremely corrupt organisation. Very few of the members' fees actually do anything at all to help its members. Instead, they line the pockets of people within the UAW and the organisation itself. Of course, I don't have any evidence to back this up. I'm just pulling it out of my ass, so don't trust anything I said. But let me explain what's going on here. The UAW is going to cause GM to go bankrupt. The UAW is going to do its best to force GM to overpay its workers more than they're worth. Sorry, not sorry, but it's just the facts. And if they get their way, the GM will not be able to stay in business. In addition, the UAW doesn't like mass layoffs. What happens when a company needs to transform and most of the employees are no longer useful in that transformation? Well, if you have a brain, you just get rid of those employees and hopefully they can find a new job somewhere else. But if the UAW has you by the metaphorical balls, you're kind of fucked. They can squeeze as much as they like and you kind of just need to do what they say. Barra knows this. There's so many obstacles facing legacy automotive manufacturers. Unionized members, big problem. Not knowing how to make electric vehicles, big problem. Incompetent leadership, big problem. Having enormous amounts of debt secured to assets whose value is about to collapse, big problem. But I'm sure everything's going to be fine.
Mary, I've got a question for you regarding Twitter.
Uh-oh. This is going to get real awkward. I see where this is going. For those who don't know, guess what happened the day Elon Musk took ownership of Twitter? BS Barra's Twitter account went silent. Why? Because Elon bad. I know exactly where Melissa Lee's going with this question. I haven't watched the video, but it's inevitable. Melissa's about to go, I noticed that you haven't tweeted since Elon took over Twitter, yet you're making this announcement on Twitter. What do you think about Twitter under Elon Musk's ownership? Now, I don't know if Melissa Lee is going to go to the extent of mentioning that BS Barra hadn't tweeted since Elon took over, but she'll know this is true. And I'm sure she's about to ask some questions about Mary Barra using Twitter as a platform, and why make the announcement on this, and was it a part of the agreement, and so on. Just remember, ladies and gentlemen, Mary is a snake in CEO's clothing, a politician, not a CEO, in bed with the Biden administration, the UAW, extreme levels of corruption, hence her Twitter account going silent once Elon took over. Hence, not a single Democratic politician even uttering the word Tesla for years under the Joe Biden presidency. But now, through sheer desperation, there's no alternative. Mary's hand has been forced. Looking forward to hearing this exchange, and or watching Mary brilliantly deflect as only a politician could.
When you tweeted about the spaces that you're going to do with Elon today, that was the first time that you were back on Twitter since October 27th, I believe the date was, when Elon Musk took over. At that time, GM also discontinued advertising on the platform. Are you back on Twitter? Is GM going to continue its advertising?
I knew it. Watch. I see a big deflection coming. There's no way she's going to directly address this.
Well, we've been on Twitter, especially for our customers, as they have questions, as they have comments, as they have issues. So we've been on Twitter all along. You know, we're in the process right now of reimagining marketing. You know, I think it's known that we are in the market to bring in a new head of marketing. And so I think that's a good question, and will be one of my first questions when this new person joins the GM team. So I definitely think it's possible.
Called it again. I mean, literally, BS Barra, massive deflection. Melissa Lee's like, I noticed you stopped posting on Twitter on your personal account the day Elon took over, and GM stopped advertising as well. Are you going to stop being dicks? Instead of Mary addressing the question about her personal Twitter account, she completely deflects and says, well, we've been there for our customers, as in the GM Twitter account has still been active. Not my personal account. Oh, and let's not mention us pulling ads from the Twitter platform, which they're still boycotting, by the way. Just complete deflection. I told you, she's a politician in CEO's clothing. Do not trust this woman.
Mary, thank you for joining us today. GM CEO Mary Barra joining us from Detroit.
No one called her out on the deflection. They just wrapped up the segment. It's almost like the producers like, hey guys, they advertise a lot. Don't make it look like a dickhead here. Just wrap it up. Hello, next. Of course, that would never happen because it's not like the advertising revenue that keeps these networks on the air would influence any of their editorial content decision-making or how they treat certain CEOs of certain companies that spend a lot of money advertising on their networks, right?
GM announcing a special deal to use Tesla's charging network and technology. So if you have a GM-built EV, you're going to be able to charge up at a Tesla Supercharger using an adapter next year. But an even bigger than that deal is that General Motors, along with an earlier announcement by Ford, will begin installing the Tesla-style charging port in their cars in 2025 and beyond. That is a big deal. And GM CEO Mary Barra spoke about the partnership on Fast Money just a short time ago.
I think this is really important because from a General Motors perspective, this almost doubles the amount of chargers that the GM customers will have access to starting, in spring of 24.
Now, Elon Musk, of course, applauding the move, tweeting, great to work with you. Investors, by the way, love it too. Shares of both Tesla and GM are up in after-hours trading. Tesla's up more than 5%. On the flip side are the shares of the third-party charging companies. They are being hit on this news. EVgo down 5%, ChargePoint down 4%, Blink down a touch. Because now that GM and Ford are moving to the Tesla standard, it's going to leave far fewer cars for their charging standard after 2025, of course, unless you carry along an adapter to convert it from the Tesla standard. Now, listen, if you are not an EV user, this can all seem confusing. We know. But think of it like this. You have a Samsung or an LG Android phone. You use that style of plug. But now Samsung and LG, GM and Ford have both decided to begin using the Apple style cable. This could certainly force all the other car makers, Hyundai, Mercedes, Rivian, etc., to also switch so their customers do not have to use adapters. All right, let's talk about it all. We've got GLJ Research founder and CEO Gordon Johnson, along with Gerber Kawasaki CEO and President Ross Gerber, significant Tesla holder. But let's first start off with CNBC Digital's Michael Whalen, who's all over the story. Mike and I just got off the telephone. When I saw it, Mike, I think you and I were kind of simpatico, and I think you said it best to me on the call. You said GM and Ford, they don't want to be in the, quote, gas station business. They don't care who pumps the gas. In this case, the gas is electricity. They want to go with the leader.
Let's be clear here. It's not that GM and Ford don't want to be in the charging business. It's that they want to be in business, period. They're desperate. I mean, think about this. It's not a great look for these companies to be partnering with a competitor. It's just not. It's a tacit admission that they don't have a hope in hell of competing and that the existing network, Electrify My Arsehole, sucks shit, which is true. Strategically, they have no other choice. Their hand has been forced, and this is why it's always been inevitable that other companies would access Tesla's charging network, just like it's inevitable that in the future, other companies will be licensing Tesla's FSD software. Not because they want to, but out of necessity and desperation.
How big of a deal is this?
Brian, that's exactly the point. This is a major deal. For consumers, it gives more charging stations. But at the end of the day, the big news is the Tesla charging port, because that is going to force everyone to think about adapting this port, including the U.S. government that's currently investing billions of dollars to build out the EV charging network. It has been a thing of Biden's to build out this network. And this is really going to throw kind of a screwball at them, trying to figure out if they should do CCS or go to the Tesla standard. And the Biden administration, Tesla, had not always had the best relationship.
Just to make sure everybody understands as to why the Biden administration and Tesla hasn't always had the best relationship, on screen now. We're on a website called opensecrets.org, and what we are looking at is political bribes. That is the official term for donations from the United Auto Workers Union to different political parties in the United States. Democrats in blue and Republicans in red. And no, there's nothing broken with this page. I'm not just toggled onto Democrat-only donations right now. This is to both parties over the last 30 years. You might notice something. Almost every fucking dollar that the UAW has donated to a political party has been to Democrats in blue, Republicans in red. So small you can barely see these on screen. Of course, these political donations obviously don't influence political parties because that would be bribery, and I'm pretty sure bribery is illegal and that would never happen, especially not in a very amazing country like the United States where there's no political corruption whatsoever. So I don't even know why I'm sharing this. But a more cynical person might suggest, GM has unionized workers, members of the UAW. Ford has workers who are members of the UAW. But Tesla's employees aren't members of the UAW. A more cynical person might suggest that that could cause corrupt legislation that favoured the companies who had unionised workers. After all, you got to repay this 30 years of bribes in one single direction somehow, right? When people donate money to you, they expect something. And by the way, that is a quote from Joe Biden a long time ago, literally explaining how political bribery, aka donations, works. I'm not kidding, by the way. This is a matter of historical fact. Biden himself explaining how this works. They always want something, talking about corruption. Somebody said, you would never be corrupt, and he literally responds in words to the effect of, well, I wouldn't be so sure about that. When people donate money, they always want something. Again, I ain't making this up. Go fact check me. So I think what I'm trying to say is this has nothing to do with why Tesla and the Biden administration didn't have the best relationship and still don't have the best relationship, nor why there was legislation proposed a little while ago that favoured union-based electric vehicles. And in fact, I should just delete this entire segment of the video because it has nothing at all to do with the Biden administration unfavourably treating Tesla. It's also got nothing to do why the Biden administration refused to even say the word Tesla until recently, nor why Joe Biden brazenly, outrageously, as we saw in the intro to this video, claimed that GM had electrified the whole industry that they led, and it matters. Yeah, it's got nothing to do with anything. And if you disagree with me, congratulations, you have a brain that works.
And you also pointed out the EV startups for the chargers. They're down right now because they're going to have to adapt or die.
Well, if you're the CEO of EVgo or ChargePoint, or by the way, call in to the show. We'll take your call or have you on. They've got to be having sort of a boardroom emergency meeting at this point. And for our viewers that have not driven electric cars, there's Tesla, and then there's everybody else. And everybody else is on that CCS standard, and there's different speeds and all this other stuff. It's kind of one of the hurdles. I think with this, because there's 3 levels of chargers. If you've got an EV that's not a Tesla. And I think with this, GM and Ford realized, what are we doing? We don't want to rely on third-party companies to build out the infrastructure necessary to sell our cars. And guess who's done it better than anybody? That's Tesla. Did Elon Musk just corner the market in charging for electric cars? Checkmate.
As of right now, yeah. I mean, it was a great play by Elon to say that he's going to open up the charging network. He's also licensing other technologies. And when you think about this, GM and Ford are trying to catch up to Tesla. They have been trying to catch up to Tesla for years now. They've been slow to adopt EVs. And now they are doing kind of a shortcut. And Tesla's helping them. Mary Barra earlier on CNBC said that they're thinking that they're going to save up to $400 million off a previously announced $750 million investment to build out EV charging. And they're doing it, we believe, at no cost.
Yeah.
They're partnering with Tesla. They're going to have the consumers have these EVs, and they are just cutting capital and taking a shortcut to really build out their EV network.
Well, I don't want to be the grim reaper of CCS, but let's take the other side of this. Will there be enough Hyundais, Kias, Mercedes, Rivians, Lucids, whatever, Stellantises, that they're going to be able to use the other style of charger, and everybody kind of survives, just like iPhone, Android, or, Mike, is this VHS Betamax, and Elon Musk just proved he's the VHS?
Spoiler alert, it's inevitable that these third-party charging networks are completely and utterly although this has been obvious for years. Tesla already had the best charging network. They already had an unassailable lead in terms of user base at critical mass. There's no point for these companies to even exist. Of course, you couldn't tell that to the dumb motherfuckers who were buying their SPACs, about 2 years ago, at outrageous valuations. Some of the reasoning including, well, EVs are going to be big, therefore you should invest in a charging company because it's going to grow. Hey moron, the best charging company is Tesla. But no, they just make cars. You can't fix stupid. And I just got to say, literally everyone who was investing in these third-party charging networks, stupid with a capital dumb motherfucker. Now, I do apologize if I hurt the feelings of anyone who's dumb. I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to try to stop you losing even more money by being a idiot.
I think it is VHS Betamax. We're going to see people continue to use the CSCS charger just because they don't want to give Tesla that kind of priority. And you've got to remember, development cycles for vehicles 3, 5, 7 years. So it's going to take a little bit for everyone to adapt. But at the end of the day, Ford and GM looked at this and said, we can take the shortcut and we can force the hand of everyone else to try to do it because we are the largest automakers in the US. And Tesla is the largest automaker for EVs. I never in my life would have thought that these three would partner up for something like this, but they saw the advantage to it and they took it.
Don't want to be too hard on this guy, but this was inevitable and very, very obvious to anyone who was well informed on this matter. As I've been saying for years, Tesla's going to license everything to everyone else. Otherwise, these other companies are out of fucking business. They're going to get desperate. They're going to come to Tesla, and Tesla's going to go, yeah, sure, look, we're trying to help here. You can license FSD. You can gain access to our charging network. We'll probably sell batteries to you in the future. Maybe we'll even give you our OS. This is going to happen. It is obvious. Not to everybody, but it is obvious to this guy. Make no mistake. Automakers across the globe, if they have any sense whatsoever, are all going to negotiate access to Tesla's Supercharger, start using Tesla's charging standard in their own vehicles, license Tesla's FSD software at some point in the future when they realize their own efforts are never going anywhere, and or Tesla's solved autonomy, they're deploying robo-taxis, and these companies are realizing, oh shit, it's now or never. And in the future, when Tesla's building surplus batteries, which is going to take years, they're also going to be selling batteries to other automotive manufacturers. You can count on it. As I've said a trillion times, in the future, most other automotive manufacturers, the ones that actually survive, are going to become glorified window dressers. They're going to be slapping their badge, their brand on vehicles with technology made by other companies, licensing other technology and running on software made by other companies, and those other companies all start with TSLA.
Ross, you got a big smile on your face. I don't think Tesla makes any money on the chargers, but there's no way to look at this.
That's not. No.
Well,
no,
can
no,
they?
no.
Because it's illegal to sell electricity. You can only sell time.
No. The way this is exactly what you guys were talking about is 100%. This is checkmate. Now, when you go back to the beginning of the story, Tesla had met with everybody and said, everybody should use our adapter. And they said, no, we're going to do our own. And in Europe, they make 2 adapters in the Tesla car, so you can use either one actually from the Tesla car. But this is setting a standard with the, really the biggest and still the most plentiful makers of EV other than Teslas are GM and eventually Ford. So when you look at the future, all the companies, whether you're a charging company or an EV company, can just switch to Tesla right now and just make it easy on everybody, And so this is checkmate. But what this Tesla, I asked Elon this once on Twitter, and he said that the margin they make on charging is 10%, because remember, they also do solar and storage. So their efficiency of charging is unlike any other company as well.
Let me ask you this, Ross, and not as an investor, and I'm going to get to Gordon in just a second, but not as an investor, but you drive a Tesla, correct?
Right.
Okay, I've driven almost not every, but a lot of electric cars. I haven't been able to notice, is there a slowdown if you had to use an adapter? For some reason, you're stuck. You can't use Tesla. You have to use CCS. Right? There are adapters that you can use, just like we use on our phones. If you had to use the adapter, would that slow your charging down? And I'm asking because You wonder what a fait accompli this might be for the other standard, unless the adapter works fine and then nobody really cares.
Right. So when you're charging at lower levels, the adapter is super easy to use, and I use it all the time. So it's not like, it's just like what you were saying with your phone. If you just have like an iPhone plug adapter, you can use it, and Apple sells a heck of a lot of these adapters for $49. So that's also a business for Tesla as well. So I think users will have other charging options, and these aren't going to go away. And there'll be lots of adapters flying around for $49. That makes everybody a lot of money. But I think for real EV adopters, you want to use the standard because of the supercharging network.
Yeah.
The superchargers don't work on the other plugs, and the supercharger fills up your car now in like 15 minutes, and it's incredible. So you don't want to lose access to the supercharger network, and that's why you just want to use the Tesla.
But I got to imagine, Gordon, I want to get your take on all this, that this is going to, unless GM and Ford, and I think they may be, and Mike can correct me on this if I'm wrong, they're going to have to invest some money here, because otherwise Tesla's going to have to spend a ton of money to accommodate all these new cars.
Right. So with respect to this being checkmate, we think it's the opposite of checkmate.
Uh-oh.
And let me explain that.
King me.
One of the only modes.
You guys catch that? Literally everyone laughing out loud at Gordon in the background. Understandably so. This is the opposite of checkmate. Please tell us more, Gordon. Tell us why this is terrible for Tesla, and it shows that they're not a leader at all.
That Tesla had left was superchargers, right? Now, if you buy a GM car, you have access to all of Tesla's superchargers. In Q1, Tesla's deferred revenue, which includes FSD and supercharging revenue, was roughly $3 billion of $19 billion. The overwhelming majority of that was FSD. They basically make nothing on superchargers. In addition, roughly 80 to 85% of the charging people do is done at home. It's not done at superchargers. So this is not a panacea for Tesla. And in fact, what it does is, if you're buying some car other than a Tesla, now you don't have range anxiety. The way that GM and Ford are going to market this is, we now have thousands of chargers that we didn't have before. This is a huge negative for Tesla, not positive. And when you take a step back,
right, because someone's going to say, I wasn't going to buy the Ford F-150 Lightning because I didn't want to deal with the other stuff, but now I can use Tesla, and I love I have an F-150 gas car. Now I can just get my exact same car in electric, and I won't buy the Cybertruck.
And when people talk about, Tesla stock is up, look, Carvana was up 60% today. Right?
That's a later segment in the show. That's a later segment.
Right. Okay.
But Gordon, what you're saying is true, Gordon. Gordon, what you're saying is true, but the point is EV adoption.
Ross, let him finish his comment. Go ahead, Gordon.
So Tesla's gross margins, Q1 22 to Q1 23, have went from 29% to 19%. They've now produced more cars than they've sold 4 quarters in a row. That's a record. They now are cutting prices. We just got another price cut today. Elon Musk said at the analyst day, they're facing economic problems, meaning their margins are probably going to move even lower. Just because the stock price is up does not change the fact that Tesla is struggling as a company. And what this opening up their superchargers does, is makes it more likely that people are going to buy other cars. This is not good for Tesla. And we think when they report earnings, the numbers are going to disappoint.
Very shocked to see that once again, the method actor that is Gordon Johnson is, wait, I didn't say that out loud, how controversial. I mean, the guy that definitely believes what he says and isn't just selling ridiculous bearish research to a captive audience of basement-dwelling adult virgins who hate themselves and therefore hate Elon Musk and hope Tesla dies. Wait, why would I say that? That's so controversial. I don't believe anything that I just said at all, which is why I'm going to leave it in the video. So I think the point I was making is I totally understand why Gordon is very bearish. This is terrible news for Tesla. It just proves that the competition is coming and that they're fucked and the stock's overvalued. P.S. something accounting shenanigans.
And again, don't use stock price to justify a bad story. Look at Carvana.
Well, I drove by a mall the other day, Ross, in New Jersey, where there must have been 1,000 Teslas sitting in the mall parking lot. I didn't know if they were sold and not delivered or unsold. I'd like to find out, actually. It's an interesting story. Stock's up 10 days in a row. It's added like 2 Procter & Gamble's worth of market cap. I mean, at what point, even as a super bull, do you start to trim and say, you know what, I got to sell some. I've made so much money here.
So there's a saying, you can't go broke taking a profit. which is true. But I also happen to believe that you're probably unlikely to create meaningful wealth if you sell a stock too early when a company has an extremely bright future, adjust to lock in a profit, and then pay a shit ton of capital gains tax to be left with less capital to then reinvest in something that will now need to grow at an even faster rate than the stock you could have just held onto. It's not like Ross has sold the vast majority of his Tesla position years ago and may or may not regret it.
Well, like in my fund GK, Tesla and NVIDIA are our top holdings. So it is, if you look at my trading, we trade to an allocation, with investments. So obviously, if this has now grown, like 100%, you're probably overweight these stocks. So for every investor, it's different based off their risk level. But most clients are much more conservative than, wanting to take a huge amount of risk in two stocks. So we've trimmed a little bit of Tesla, but it's irrelevant of our position that Tesla is one of the most consequential companies in the world. And now with EV adoption in just full swing, this is what Tesla's about. This is what Gordon doesn't understand. It's about EV adoption. Tesla will succeed even greater with other people succeeding. It shouldn't be one market. And if we're going to sell, 35 or 40 or 50 million EVs a year, we need all these companies to succeed.
Obviously, Tesla are an extremely consequential company. Now, just to be clear regarding the comments from Ross and trimming positions, locking in profits, he does manage money for other people, the pitchfork carrying Elon bad Californians, those ones. Yep, them. I understand that there's limitations. You don't probably want your investors owning stock in a fund that's extremely volatile by being too heavily overweight in one particular stock that's very volatile. One of the many reasons I don't manage money for other people. My prior comments regarding selling Tesla stock years ago to lock in some profits were based on tweets I had seen. I believe Ross was referring to his own personal holdings, not the money he was managing for other people. Maybe he doesn't regret that decision. I personally haven't sold any Tesla stock, but maybe that's just because I'm a moron. Or maybe that's because I'm looking out a decade or two into the future and thinking, I'd have to be pretty dumb to sell now or any time over the last 6 or 7 years. Anyway, in summary, I'd just like to once again congratulate GM and Mary Barra for leading the charge, electrifying the whole industry and mattering. P.S. What $5 million? Hey, look, Orange Man bad, indictment, bye. Athletic Greens AG1 has given me a massive, meaningful boost in energy, allowing me to do a lot more every day, including using my brain more and using my body more. I highly recommend you guys and girls check it out. Athletic Greens AG1 is an excellent way to fill in nutritional gaps. It's got 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, and whole food source nutrients, plus prebiotics and probiotics and digestive enzymes and adaptogens to help you deal with stress. Plus, if you click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR, you can get yourself a 1-year free supply of vitamin D3 and K2. But don't take my word for it. Here's what some of you guys and girls have to say. AG1 has changed my life. I was, as you described, treating myself like a circus, ate like trash, rarely exercised, used alcohol as a stress crutch, cannabis also. AG1 is what gave me the kick in the ass, got me back to the gym, motivated me to do more for myself, family, my business, etc. Keep doing what you do. Now, I know there's some skeptics, the same kind of people who think Elon Musk is a fraud, reading this going, what do you thought? There's no way that's possible, bro. It must be a placebo effect. Believe it or not, this is a recurring theme. If you give your body everything it needs to feel and perform its best, including having a lot more energy, you'll need ways to use that energy. For me personally, that includes more exercise, moving my body more social activity, and more cognitively demanding tasks, including producing a ton of exclusive content over on Twitter and on Patreon, plus my daily YouTube uploads. The proof's in the pudding. On to another testimonial from a viewer of this channel. SMR, you asked me to provide feedback on AG1. Here it is. It has helped with mental acuity, stamina, and intestinal waste management. Can't read between the lines. It certainly helps with regularity and digestion. That's what the digestive enzymes are for. It has also dramatically reduced my cravings for sugar. You guys need to stop eating sugar. It's fucking poison. I'm 50, 5'9", and overweight, aka a fat motherfucker. I think that's a technical term for overweight, isn't it? Is it fat motherfucker or obese? I can't remember. I average 100 hours a week in the West Texas oil fields as a safety supervisor. Jesus Christ, dude. No wonder you're struggling to keep your weight under control. 100 hours a week. Brutal. It has helped me lose weight. It is not an appetite suppressant. It can help fat people suppress cravings, and motivation to be healthier is critical for changing your diet. Love you, brother. Again, this is a great point and something people really don't seem to grasp. If you have more energy, everything becomes easier. It's like turning on easy mode for life. A few years ago, before I was taking AG1, my health was trash. I was struggling to get through the day, had afternoon fatigue. The last thing I wanted to do was either use my brain or move my body. Didn't have the energy. Now, my biggest struggle every day is figuring out ways to use that energy. I'm exercising way more, doing a lot more with my friends and family, and of course, my work output has increased substantially. And you can fact check me. Check out the average length of my videos I was posting to YouTube 3 years ago. Need I say more? And one final testimonial. Love this one. Okay, here's the deal for me with this AG1 shit. I'm 41 years old and not the type to eat, drink, smoke, or sleep healthy, so I was skeptical. That being said, here's what I experienced. Day 1, meh. Day 2, afternoon fatigue was about 45 minutes late. Day 3, 0 afternoon fatigue. Day 4, 0 afternoon fatigue plus extra energy. Day 5, again, 0 afternoon fatigue plus energy, wondering, what the really? See, this is the thing, right? The results for many people are just almost too good to be true. This is the same experience I had. My afternoon fatigue just vanished out of nowhere. I'm like, wait, what the Why am I not tired in the afternoons anymore? Surely, it's not that AG1 is it? Turns out it was. Day 6 and 7, same thing. Day 8, same thing. Plus, I had the want to get things done around the house that I normally would slack off and not get done. Again, the point, extra energy, you'll need to use it, you'll find ways to use it. Day 9, 10, and 11, and today is day 12. I fucking love it. So however you managed to get me to buy it, I'm so glad you did. Thank you so much, SMR. It really changed me so far. Guys, this shit really works. Just try it. By the way, this is the reason I continue to relentlessly promote AG1. A lot of people get real fucking mad in the comments. Oh my God, snake oil salmon's sold out. Oh my God, he's a scammer. This is fraud. But constantly, I'm pretty sure everyone making these comments is also currently short Tesla stock. I'm not particularly concerned about people having a negative perception, those folks suffering from small brain syndrome, still living in my bum's basement syndrome, etc., writing mean comments, claiming AG1's a scam or it doesn't work. I mean, bro, when I get feedback like this is what keeps me going. And remember, there is a 90-day money-back guarantee. There's nothing to lose here. Just try this stuff for a month, and if you don't get these results, get your money back. See, it's a literal no-brainer. It's an IQ test at this point in time. Testimonial after testimonial after testimonial like this. Get your money back if it doesn't work. Just try it for a month, and if it doesn't work, get your money back. Today's the day. It's finally time. Be like this guy who was a massive skeptic, but finally, after 1,000 promotions in a row, caved in, tried AG1, and has results like this. Head to drinkag1.com/SMR or click the link at the pinned comment, and please, let me know how you're feeling in a few weeks' time. Now, if you'll excuse me, time to put my extra energy to good use. I'll be recording some more exclusive content for Patreon and my Twitter subscribers. So click the links in the pinned comment. See you over on Twitter and or Patreon. And don't forget to grab your AG1. Love ya.